Welcome to Master Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Yeah, a little bit of Pariah up in this piece in the form of their Run That Back. Run it back, son. Run it back. Yeah, this be their Hazie Double India Pale Ale. What do they have to say in the back here? It's a lot of words. It says, what you're holding in your hand is our 7th anniversary celebratory double IPA. It is hard to even believe that we've been able to write this description, considering how crazy the world has been the last several years. We're still fighting through it, and holy, would not be possible without amazing folks like you choosing to pick up our beers. We truly thank you. This beer is hopped with Citra and Rawaka, and then dosed with Phantasm Thiol powder. You can expect a glowing orange in the glass with powerful notes of orange, mango, grape skins, and just a bit of funky fruitiness. Well, let's run this back 2024 style. Courtesy of Brian from Pariah Brewing. Sent off 2 beers. Probably post these, if not the same day, probably close back to backish. Maybe we'll see what's what. As per Pariah has been known to do, they definitely have the old school vibes, you know, Saved by the Bell, whatever you want to call it. 90s neon jams, yo, that'd be me. Beer wise, it's hazy, but it's not ultra hazy, and it's quite dark. So we'll see how this sucker lands. Has an index finger just over it, of just south of khaki colored head to it, and this rich kind of tangerine juice kind of body to it. Let's get a nose. Not much here. Aromatically, a little bit of herbally hops, a little bit of spiciness, maybe a touch of little orange. That's that. There's really not much there. A little bit of sweet maltiness. Not a huge hazy aromatically. Just kind of comes off. Not anything over the top, but also not anything quite of anything, really. Just a soft, more like a low ABV hazy rather than an 8.2% hazy. Just dive right in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. It's actually quite aggressive on the taste. Candied orange. Bittering that's quite West Coast on this. They call this a Hazie Double India Pale Ale. It almost comes off like a hazy West Coast beer for me. Definitely like candied mango, candied tropical fruits, candied kiwi. A lot of candiness going in here. There's a sharp sweetness to it. 8.2%. I'm not going to get too bothered about that. It's supposed to be sweet. No shit, Sherlock. But it's really the bittering side of things that kind of has me surprised. There's a decent amount of resinous to it. There's a decent amount of pininess to it. And it lingers quite decent. It comes off very much more West Coasty for me than it does East Coasty for me, or New England style for me. And then has this sharp kind of, not violent, but it has this very kind of stinging kind of bitterness to it. You know, reading the description, not necessarily what I'd expect. You know, I talk more about, you know, fruit and this, that, and the other thing. Notes of orange, mango, grape skins, and just a bit of funky fruitiness. You know, it really is the bittering that has kind of, or the resinous is probably the best way to put it, rather than bittering, is really the part that kind of surprises me here, and I'm quite shocked that it's not kind of talked about in the label, because either it's not supposed to be that way, or that's the way it is and they just omit it. But I think it's actually a cool twist. It comes off very much old school Midwest IPA for me. Think about like a hazier version of Two Hearted. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting here. So it's like a candied orange, candied pineapple, candied, you know, tangerine-y kind of thing going on here, in combination with this kind of decent, slightly herbal, but propped up or foundationally sound kind of bitterness to it that shows off a bit resinous. And for me, that's very much kind of old school Midwest. You know, you're talking about Two Hearted, Chill Wave, those kind of beers. It has that going for it. If that's what they went for, then good on them. But I think it's quite cool. I'm not going to sit here and say it's my favorite double IPA I've had in recent memory, but there's the uniqueness of it, the twists of it, the things that it's doing that I typically don't get from beers like this quite often nowadays. It's kind of tickling my fancy a little bit, and I dig it. I like it. You know, it has a nice mouthfeel to it. It's not going to be confused with a full mouthfeel, especially if you're propping up against a New England style IPA. But if you're talking about a West Coast IPA, it's definitely got a fuller mouthfeel than that. You know, the sweetness the is appropriate for its style and ABV level, but it also has this kind of cool, kind of candied, kind of fruitiness bouncing back and forth in between that cool piney resonance thing that I attribute to kind of, like I said, either West Coast or more specifically like a new school West Coast or like a Midwestern kind of IPA, and it shows in a really fun way. I like it. I think it's fun. It's not necessarily what I thought it would be, based off of reading the label and expecting what is written on here, grape skins and mangoes and all those kind of things. There's no discussion of the bitterness, and I think that's the coolest part of the beer, and I would champion that if I were them. I would be like, hey, this is a very cool part of this beer. Let's talk about it. And maybe it just got oxidized. And I don't know, because I know, you know, Pariah has troubles with that from time to time, at least the beers that I get, but it's kind of morphed into a really cool thing, so I dig where it went. It says drink within 90 days of date code. There's no date code on here, but Brian told me they were on the 9th of February. We're at the end of February, so we're well within that. And I think it's a fun beer. It's a fun beer. Who would have thunk it? Beer can be fun. So there we go. Reviewing books. This is one of the better double IPAs I've had as late. Put it in the conversation. Just not Mount Rushmore status. And, you know, in the middle somewhere. Value and availability. No idea. Let us know and leave you with it if you like what we like this. If you like New School East, dig on the Midwest, and like a decent amount of West Coast, and you want them all in one beer together, it's your boy. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Pariah, have you had their beers? Have you been to the breweries? I don't know, West Coast, East Coast. Have you been to any of them? Can you go to them? Have you had their beers? Have you had this beer? What's your favorite Pariah beer? All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a run it back, son. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.